we want to be able to push you to, hey, every once in a while, book a premium seat, um, get a lounge pass, things like that. If I never fly, maybe fly a little bit more often. And so we can't do any of that and personalize and get to what's important to you unless we have really great data. And so it is all about making sure that that data is both captured and that we use it appropriately, that we showcase value, and that we make you feel like every time you give us data, you're going to get something beneficial in return. So that's the center of it. And ultimately, all the airlines know this. A lot of the other large loyalty programs know this. But for any company that wants to start up a loyalty program, that needs to be considered. If you can't get to that stage, you're really just discounting, and then you're just killing your own margins.
Welcome to Frank Growth. I'm Jason Shafton. I run the growth consulting firm Winston Francois. And around here, we tell the truth about growing. The good, the bad, and the you can't say it out loud ugly. Every episode, we get tactical with operators, investors, and builders. What works, what breaks, and what to do next. No fluff, no vanity metrics, no hustle theater. Just signal. This is Frank Growth. Let's get into it. Today, we're talking to Pat Ryan, and this episode is Data Systems Designed for Growth. Before we bring Pat in, a quick riff on today's topic. Most teams think data systems exist to explain what has already happened. They don't. They exist to decide faster, align teams, and scale trust. Growth stalls when teams argue about numbers, metrics lag decisions, ownership is fuzzy, data exists, but no one can act on it. That's the frame we'll use today with Pat. He has an incredible background, including time at Discover Card, Organizing for Action, and now United Airlines. He knows more about data and marketing analytics than anybody I know. Let's get tactical. Pat, welcome to Frank Growth.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, that's a nice setup for today. So in that 20-year career, you've built a lot of systems, especially around data and marketing data. And so when you hear the phrase data systems designed for growth, what does that bring up for you?
Yeah, I think the for growth is very important. And what I tend to think about is a heavy alignment to use cases, and typically commercial use cases. Always want to make sure that if we're building something, we really know what the point of building it is, not just because it's big, not just because it's cool, but what's the path to value? And that is a central mantra. And everything I will do is, well, how are we going to get value out of this? How is it actually going to deliver on the business outcomes? It's not enough for something to just be cool.
Yeah, I love that. Cool is great, but business outcomes better than that,
Yeah.
better than cool. Where do you see data systems most commonly break as companies scale? Is it technology, people, process, definition?
Well, they are all risks, of course. But I think the combination of sort of the tech and the strategy is a huge uh, piece that we need to look out for. And really comes down to infrastructure. Infrastructure is great when you do it right because it's durable and it lasts, and it opens the door to that scale. But likewise, if you need to tear it down and replace it, a few things are more painful in the tech world. I mean, I can say, I'm at a company that is working to move away from mainframes that have existed far longer than I've been alive. And so it's one of these kind of things that if we make the wrong decision, we are setting ourselves up for years and years of challenges. And so it's always got to be in mind when we're making a firm infrastructure decision. Are we sure we're on the right path? And I think that's the biggest risk that we can carry.
Yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense. You actually joined United Airlines in 2020, right as the industry hit a very unique wall.
Yeah.
What did that period teach you about designing data systems that don't collapse under macro volatility?
Yeah. I mean, like, as we are all aware, tech is just absolutely essential to scale anything. And so when we hit a moment with the pandemic where flying is just really not an option for just about anybody, other than those who it was, first responders, the folks that just have no other choice. A company like ours had to look to every other way that we extract value. The key one, the one that kept us afloat in so many ways, is our loyalty program. And the reason for that is um, when people are loyalty program is really important when people are not thinking about flying already. In our day-to-day life, how am I thinking about getting to my next trip, even when I don't have a trip available? And so what we found is that people still engage with the program extensively. They use credit cards to earn miles, they use partnerships to earn miles, and all with the idea that someday I'll be out of this pandemic. Someday I'll be able to do something incredible through a travel experience. But because of that, because we were now all in on this loyalty approach, we needed to find ways to scale and adjust and open new use cases quickly. And so that came down to what is the center of every loyalty program, which is the data. Are we not just do we have quality data, but what are we able to execute on it to take on those use cases?
Yeah, loyalty programs are incredible. I am a longtime Mileage Plus member since probably when we were in high school. So you've led this loyalty data side of the business, and a lot of people still just think about loyalty as like points and perks. But what is it really? Like, why is a loyalty program really just a data system?
Well, I mean, the core of it even just stems from the idea of the difference between a loyalty program and a rewards program. I
Mm,
mean, at the end of the day, everyone wants to be a loyalty program, but a lot of them only get to that reward stage, which is just discounting. It really becomes loyalty when you feel like the program allows you to move your customers up the value chain. Hey, I have no problem buying economy tickets. We want to be able to push you to, hey, every once in a while, book a premium seat, um, get a lounge pass, things like that. If I never fly, maybe fly a little bit more often. And so we can't do any of that and personalize and get to what's important to you unless we have really great data.
mm.
And so it is all about making sure that that data is both captured and that we use it appropriately, that we showcase value, and that we make you feel like every time you give us data, you're going to get something beneficial in return. So that's the center of it. And ultimately, all the airlines know this. A lot of the other large loyalty programs know this. But for any company that wants to start up a loyalty program, that needs to be considered. If you can't get to that stage, you're really just discounting and then you're just killing your own margins.
Well said, and I completely agree. When you're kind of joining organizations that have this kind of scale and are working on massive kind of data sets and building programs to create value as opposed to just discounts, what are some of the capabilities? Maybe two or three things that you focus on that help create credibility and momentum internally, and then obviously also help you win over customers.
Sure. Building internally is about, I think, going back to something I mentioned earlier, just showing that path to value. These big investments that can take not just extensive capital, but extensive time to set up. You just really need to, it just really needs to be a clear path. Everyone's coming from different perspectives. Everyone's got different goals and agendas within the organization. And so aligning those, making sure that folks all understand what's in it for them, that's incredibly important. And the same for customers is, if I'm going to engage, if I'm going to, take this on, if I'm going to supply data to you, why? So what are we doing here? So showcasing that really important. And then I think about like I would say commercial readiness to whatever you're going to build. And I think about it like, we call data gold at this point, or the new oil, or however you want to describe it, but it's this natural resource of sorts. But like those resources, in its raw state, it's actually not usable. It's not useful. It doesn't generate dollars directly. It's how quickly can we refine it and make it useful? And so just having data isn't enough. We need to be building the applications that make it ready, that make it available. And that's where the value ultimately comes from.
Got it. Another area that can be quite chaotic is kind of metrics and the chaos that can underlie what metrics to choose and how that ends up manifesting in what are we focusing on and what number are we trying to move to actually grow. What does a good metric layer actually look like in practice?
I I would say that this is about process and more so than tech, for sure. It's about we can build really great data layers to showcase metrics and sort of make them available. Business intelligence systems are everywhere. But I think that anyone who's ever built a business intelligence system knows that it's really about if it gets used. And getting used is, I believe, rarely about the tech and generally about the culture and sort of the accountability for business stakeholders who want it. Again, I would say that it's not an unusual story to hear, hey, this VP asked me to build this system to showcase all of our numbers, and my metrics say that he looks at it, once every 3 months. And so maybe that's enough, maybe that's worth it, but it's about sort of the culture and accountability to create that. And again, that takes a lot of cultural adoption, a lot of just adherence to the strategy to say that we're going to be metric oriented. And from there, the tech part, I don't want to be too reductive, but I would say that's the easy part, make that be successful.
That makes sense. When you think about data trust at scale, how do you kind of establish that ownership, quality, accountability without slowing the team down?
Trust, whether it's data or anything else in a business, is about that commitment from leadership in particular and making it a core part of the strategies. It is a cultural uh, necessity in order to make this strong. We're all living it, we're all breathing it, and we're all feeling like we have a piece of ownership in this. Without that, I don't think that there's really any tech solution that's going to get to you to where you want to be.
Yeah, when you think about those tech solutions and how to architect them internally, what are the principles that you think matter most when you're kind of trying to design for growth and speed? And think about this in the frame of maybe some of these earlier stage companies that aren't quite at the scale of United and want to move fast.
Sure. So I'm a really big fan of this concept that we've been pushing quite a bit, what I call data fabrics. I didn't invent that term. I don't know who I heard it from, but it's this idea that we've got whatever business model is going to have a variety of different data environments, and connecting those with what I would call like this adaptive learning loop is really important, because in many cases you're going to have a warehouse for your sort of historical look, your analysis. You're going to have these days, especially some kind of AI ML platform where your data scientists can work and kind of put together their models and test, train, and just develop to where they need to be. And then you've got your sort of real-time databases that are probably very operational and built in the applications that you need today. And so connecting those three or more parts together is really essential for fast development as you move forward, so that every time you build a new application, you're not building a series of different pipelines, over and over again. You're saying, hey, we've built this robust platform. Now we're all set. New applications are basically just UIs or automations. And that learning loop allows you to have great observability in how people are using that data. So if we're overloading or under supporting, that is going to be really clear. And so when we're thinking about any kind of growth, it's about that's to me an infrastructure that allows for really, really quick development once it's set up. You can, whether it's AI ML use cases or sort of just software UIs, in either case, I think those are going to stand up extra fast and shorten that path to value.
Nice. You've actually worked with personalization, customer data, and very privacy heavy environments. How do you balance performance with kind of this idea of consent and compliance?
Yeah, something I mentioned earlier, I think about a lot on this front is just showcasing value to your customers or whoever you're asking for that consent from. If I'm working with, if I'm a Mileage Plus member and they're asking for my address, I better understand, what are you getting out of having my address? Is this just to mail me more ads, or am I getting something of benefit out of it? I the cases that I think would really stand out to people on the opposite side, are, if I'm opening a recipe app on my phone and it says like, please share your location, with this application, my brain is immediately going to, how is a recipe app possibly going to be using my location? Now I really don't trust this. Like, why
I'm at
do
the
I want
grocery
to?
store. I just need to get the ingredients. It needs to know which grocery store I'm at.
Sure. And I'm sure that's how they would, justify it. I think we've all experienced a case where someone's asking for data that sends off some amount of alarm bells. Now, maybe we still consent and agree anyway, but that is that the more we're transparent about that, the more we actually return value for what we're asking in the data. It just shortens that path, makes it much easier. And then again, we're off to the races.
All right, let's talk about everybody's favorite topic, AI, machine learning. Where does ML genuinely earn its place kind of in the way you think about this stuff? And where is simpler analytics still the better answer?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to sound like a broken record, but it's path to value. Like, I don't know, I'm old enough to remember the .com explosion, and it feels very similar in so many ways, because unquestionably it's the future, and yet also we're in this stage where we just want to build something with it. In most cases, we want to be able to say, I built this piece of AI, I have this great ML model, and the question that is often unanswered is, well, what's the path to value? If I create an AI that, can take just a static picture of me and turn me into some kind of professional dancer in a video, like that's fun. How am I making money off of that? And so, that feels lost in a lot of cases today. And I will say, even at expansive, well-defined, established businesses, there's still a lot of that going on everywhere in areas where people would pride themselves with having really robust strategies and ways to derive commercial value. You're still getting people trying to jam AI into use cases that don't need it. And look, we're all going to get better at it over time because plenty of these investments won't pay off, and suddenly we'll scrutinize in the right ways, just as we did with building web services so many years ago. So it's going to be a journey, but at the same time, I think everyone, well, maybe not everyone, almost everyone can agree that this is where we're going. It's just how do we do it right?
Yep, I agree. If a growth stage company hired you tomorrow, what would your first 90 days there look like?
Number one is always just deep understanding about the current process. And I really focus on process before text. Number two is then where are we at with goals? Third is assessing people, and then ultimately then defining that strategy of how we get there. The time I'm out of 90 days, I would feel like I would have a firm strategy ready to go. Who knows what this organization would be like, but I think that's a path to success, and it's really agnostic of data or anything else. I think most leaders would want to take a similar-ish path, no matter what their scope is.
I like it. It's thoughtful. All right, let's do a quick lightning round. So quick questions, quick answers.
Okay.
One tool that you rely on most.
Databricks. I think that's the best data tool suite on the market right now.
One metric you'd never give up.
Lifetime value. Lifetime value score will replace almost everything else commercial.
One lesson you learned the hard way about scaling data systems.
It's really possible to have the right strategy, but the wrong way to sell it. Our strategies are like any product, like they don't sell themselves. It's really important that they're good, but ultimately we have to take them over the finish line.
This is perfect, Pat. This was very clear and practical. If folks want to get in touch with you, kind of, hear more about what you're working on, where should they go? What's the best way for them to reach out?
Sure. I think LinkedIn is it's the only social media I use. I'm sorry. I know that I should probably have
No
a
apology
presence on
required
X.
there. I think that's very reasonable.
But no, LinkedIn is definitely. I'll be. I post the kinds of engagements that I'm a part of, and then when we're really ready to share big strategies, open to the market, I'm happy to do that. That's the best way. Obviously, keep an eye on the way the airlines are going. I think that the post-COVID world has been a pivot point, that we haven't seen in a long time in this industry. But yeah, I think those are the places that I'll be operating as we roll forward.
Awesome. This was so great, Pat. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yep. Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it.
That was Pat Ryan and a clear look at how data systems either enable growth or quietly cap it. Here are my 3 takeaways from my conversation with Pat. 1, data without a path to value is just cost. Pat repeated this throughout, whether it's an AI, a new platform, or a loyalty program. The first question is always, how does this generate business outcomes? Cool tech that doesn't move the needle is just overhead. 2, loyalty beats rewards because data beats discounts. A rewards program kills margins. A loyalty program uses data to move customers up the value chain. From economy seats to premium experiences, if you can't personalize, you're just discounting. And finally, 3, trust in data is cultural, not technical. You can build the best business intelligence system in the world, but if leadership only looks at it once a quarter, you failed. Data trust requires ongoing commitment from the top. It's not set it and forget it infrastructure. And if you want to do one thing this week to get your data house in order, take one AI or data initiative your team is excited about, write down the path to value in one sentence. If you can't, pause it until you can, or kill it. That's Frank Growth. If this gave you something you can use this week, follow the show and share it with one operator who needs it. I'm Jason Shafton from Winston Francois. We help tech companies build sustainable, repeatable growth with a proven operating system. Show notes and takeaways are in the description. Be frank and keep growing.